Now we got 10 on there. And it's a little bit soft. Right, today we find ourselves back down by the brook, and this is a long awaited little project because we're finally going to get rid of the slip and slide and get some proper traction. Coming through here every day is always a bit of a challenge. So Craig's here, and this is actually one of the first things we did with Craig. We cleared out this side, so we're back again a year on, and we're going to make use of all those concrete sleepers. I know a bunch of you have been saying it in the comments, and it's been our plan all along. We've had them stacked down here ready, and we've just taken a few more out. We're hoping that we've got enough to get both sides done. Now you probably can't make it out, but under here, when the sheep haven't been over and it hasn't been raining, there's concrete from here to here. After that, you can see what happens, just gets a right mess, and there's nothing over the other side. So what we need to do is clear both banks, make sure it's wide enough, and then start dropping these sleepers in to create a nice track all the way up to the top. First job, get these nettles out of the way. Now that is what I call a productive start. As you can see, we are getting stuck in today. I've managed to get all the sides trimmed so we can see what we're doing. Craig's working through all of the rubble that was there. All that sludge on top was kind of silted up, stuff that washed down over the year. Under that, the previous owner had actually backfilled a lot of this with rubble. So it wasn't just, clay soil all the way down. But we needed to get that out to make it the correct depth for the sleepers to get into. So if I show you what's going on down here, so kind of graded the banks down. What we're also thinking about doing is if we grade these off, we'll put some of that hessian on there and reseed it, and hopefully that'll hold these a bit tighter, a bit more secure. So this is the last sleeper that's kicked up a little bit, so we might rebed that one down, but I think what we're going to do is try and get a clean edge, make sure it's wide enough all the way up, and then we'll just try and get them all in one, because every time we go from digging to grab, we'll have to go through and change the digger, or change the head on the digger. So if we can get it all done in one batch, that'd be great. Right, we're back after a lunch break and an unnecessary amount of roast potatoes and pork chops, but we're going to try and get this done now. So Craig's got the grab on his digger. I brought the little one over so I can work on this side. The idea is that he can drop them in place, and as we go I can kind of grade out and do any adjustments with this one from this side. That's the plan. Let's see how it goes. Right, first 4 are in, and it's working okay. Well, I'll say that. We pulled out 2 as well, so we laid 6 already. We realised that you don't have to get it bang on, because as soon as you drive over, they kind of settle themselves down. They've got 10 steel rods in, or more. They're just so reinforced. So it's not like you have to ensure that everything is fully supported. Over time, everything's going to just wash underneath and sort itself out. And that's why the top 2 had kind of kicked up a bit, because the silt had just washed underneath and gradually pushed them up. So until I see it just about to go in, I can't really work out if we need to take too much more off. We have taken a little bit more off because it needs to be a bit more gradual than it was. So there's a hump here. I'll need to grade it as we go, but we'll do it slow and steady, bit by bit. Right, success on the other side. That is looking really neat from here. We're going to see if we can use up the 12, 13 that we've got left on this side, but it's going to be nowhere near enough. So either I'll have to seed this for now and hope it holds, or try and get hold of some more of these sleepers. I don't really want to take any more of our own out of the wall. A lot of this is really rubbly, which is good as far as traction goes. But laying those sleepers, you don't really want lots of chunks and bumps in there. While Craig's doing that last bit, I'll talk through our plans for fencing along here. So in our current scheme of work and the grants that we've got available for fencing, we haven't included fencing either side of the brook. And that was for a couple of reasons, and I think we've gone into it more on the DIY farm channel. But we weren't quite sure how to fence it and not have issues with flooding, like when it does flood, because once or twice a year the water can come out, and when it does, it brings debris. So any stock netting would just act like a sieve and gather all that, and also branches fall periodically along here. However, I think we do need to fence it off for security of tractors and people as well as the livestock. So we are going to put it in, but we have to finish off all of the rest of the fencing first, get all that signed off and cleared, and then we can apply for the additional bit. So what we're thinking is to come in from the bank. You see where this balsam's come up about, I don't know, metre and a half clear of the bank. Potentially we were going to leave it a little bit bigger and have a footpath, a nice walkway all the way along, which sounds lovely, but if you don't use it enough, it's just going to end up a nettle path, and therefore just more work for me. So I think we might just call it a wild strip and bump it in a little bit closer, leave it a metre, and then there'll be an opening further up, which is where we're going to put the bridge in, or maybe 2 positions, so there'll be a gate. But when it comes to the crossing, the gate needs to be set back. So if you see where Craig is now, even further where the truck is, there'll be the gate. So we'll have to rail back from the banks of the brook up to that gate. That way it means that either side of the gate you can stop, you're not in the water or anything like that. Note to self when you're doing this, if you're crazy enough to do this. One, don't have a dog around. Maggie, here, come on. Also, we've only moved about 100 metres. I don't know what these weigh. I'm guessing a few hundred kilo. Maggie, get back. Now we got 10 on there. And it's a little bit soft. I think you'd be pushing it to get more than half a dozen, if that, on there without being well overweight. It's the final brick in the Lego set. We've run out, but it's got us probably halfway up the new slope. And where they've still got the steel pins in, you need to make sure that, because they stick out the other side, you've got to make sure there's no rocks or bricks in the way. And this is all rubbly backfill. Right, we're all done. Trailer's now lifted out of the dip. Hopefully we'll be able to pull it now it's empty. Give you a very quick look, but we'll come down and tidy this up before the end of the video. So I'm going to have to sort out this step. We've got a nice little curve going on, intentionally, kind of, because we're always going around that way anyway. But before I take up our little digger, I'll just fill up here just to make sure that some of this hardcore is up against that, so we don't bump along too much. Job done. Bye, Craig. I worked so hard today. I was watching your back. I was making sure the dog was always under your feet. Well, there we go, back on the morning chores the next day, and the truck just flew through there, so all is good. We obviously ran out of sleepers. We only had so many, and I don't really want to start robbing them from anywhere else quite yet. We're probably going to have to do some sort of kind of exit ramp and entrance ramp into the water. I think that's what was there before. They just haunched with concrete, so there was no like big step, because that is where the tow bar catches when you're towing a trailer. But apart from that, it's all good, and even the areas where we haven't quite got enough sleepers, we've actually taken off all the sloppy stuff on top, and we found all this hardcore and gravel that have been put down like a sub base, so it's got plenty of traction there. And we're only really looking at another month until we pull all the pigs back onto the other side, and then the sheep won't be crossing over anyway during the winter. No, you idiot. Well, you've gone the wrong side of the fence now, haven't you? Completely immune to the electric now, that one. I think they're just missing their beer grains. I'm off to the brewery later, work related. To pick up more spent grains. We're trying to pick them up once a week, and we're getting through about 6 bags, which is about, I don't know, 200 kilo or so, and they're loving it. So we're kind of subbing that in on their diet. It's saving some pennies for us as well, and it just means a bit more variation for the pigs, but also we're feeding into the goats as well, and hopefully they're going to get a bit of condition ready for the winter. Even from an animal husbandry point of view, getting that crossing right is better, because that sloppy mud that was there before, it's a bit like a gateway. A lot of bacterial infections which happen in hooves happen in gateways, and it will be the same at that crossing. So hopefully that concrete is going to help that. And also there's a big thing about livestock and water obviously causing erosion and silting up and, you know, making a mess. We only have lightweight livestock, so it's not like we're sending 100 cows through each day. However, it's good to know that it's solid either side now, and also the base, the actual bed of that water is being built up with a load of gravel and stuff, so there's no muddiness when you go through it, fortunately. And then of course, before winter, I must do it. The pylons are sat the other side ready. I've got to build a footbridge in here, and I think what I'll probably do, I was going to use a couple of those concrete sleepers as a pad either side. I might just go ahead and use some of the timber, the oak sleepers that we've got. I think they'll last just fine, 2 either side, and then we'll fix the pylons to those, build a deck across, and then hopefully I won't actually need to drive through quite so often because I can park up the other side and I can walk over with buckets of feed. And also taking sheep across. I know I've said it before, but if flood water comes up or if the water level comes up too quickly, we won't be able to cross down there anyway. And if I've got livestock this side and we need to get them across, a bridge is the only option. So that is a future project in the next few weeks. Anyway, I've got a few more farmy bits to do. Huge thank you as always to Craig for coming out with his toys and sorting that out. You can just imagine trying to get those things in by hand, or even with the tractor or on forks. That grab is insane. I don't know if you could make out some of the footage, but even just gripping onto the top kind of 20 mil, it can hold them, position them, drop them in, nudge them. It's like having just a giant hand, isn't it? So that was time and money well spent getting Craig in to do that. We're going to leave it here. If you've got any other comments and improvements for the crossing, then let us know. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. We'll see you next time.